Okay, so I also did the cloud storage system, just like Kevin, and we both ran ours off the Raspberry Pi. This is my Raspberry Pi right here, and the Raspberry Pi, like Kevin said, it's just a really simple computer basically. It's tiny, it runs off an SD card which goes right there. Doesn't even have its own disk drive, like it's really small, but it's pretty good, and I overclock it a ton. To the point where like it corrupts your SD card half the time. So that's why there's this fan here. But I just made this fan out of like cut up sheet metal, and then put it on this servo, and cut a USB cord in half, and then like hook it up. It's kind of sketchy, but it works, and that's what keeps the heat down. But the upside of that is the Raspberry Pi runs a lot faster, and as you can see, I also glued the USB hub on top of this, and I have a breadboard here with a resistor in it to prevent the power surge from the USB. And yes, so the configuration file isn't working right now, but there is a video online of it working, so you can look at that, I guess. Then, for my second project, I also did an RC car, just like Kevin. But again, it's not done. We're still making it, but this is what it looks like so far. So I basically made this huge PVC frame with tiny wheels on it, and Sabrina thought it was really funny. But it's really strong, and it's really durable, and hopefully it'll work well when it does. So far I've only attached some motors. I'm still coding like with the PSP controller and this Arduino Uno. And yeah, so hopefully that goes well, and hopefully I can finish it the next 4 days, because I really want to. But I did finish my first project, which is cloud storage system, and that's basically it. Yeah.
You have a starter project?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. So this is a starter project. So this is an ultrasonic parking sensor. Alvin, who's also in our class, but he's doing the other night, also did this. And basically it's just like on your car when you back up, and like a lot of cars now have parking sensors which beep or do some other thing that alerts you when you're getting close. So this one beeps, and it's going to be running off this rechargeable battery which hasn't been charged yet, but Pareen said it might work, so we'll see. Hopefully it works. So basically it just gets louder when something gets closer to it. And so this was a starter project, so it's basically just a matter of like soldering a bunch of stuff on. They basically tell you how to do it. In the beginning it was kind of frustrating because the speaker wasn't actually soldered on, and I checked all the solders for like 4 hours. And then Robin came over and he was like, well, I think that's not actually soldered on, and it turns out it was loose, so I soldered that and then it worked. So that was pretty frustrating, but eventually it worked. And then for the Raspberry Pi cloud storage thing, there was this one setback which was kind of annoying when I put in a 1 terabyte hard drive, and that wouldn't work because you couldn't set permissions to it. Basically, you couldn't allow ownership of the drive the way it was formatted then. So I had to format that to the ext3 format, which is some format that people only use in like India or something. But you can set ownership to that. So then once you set ownership to the web server, it worked. And yeah, Michael and I tried to format that thing like for 2 days, and it was really annoying. But in the end, it ended up working. So that was sort of like, I mean, I felt like good once I overcame that, but I worked on that for a while. And the site I found that on was written in like Hindi or something, so I couldn't really read it. But then Google Translate came to the rescue, and then I finally figured it out. So yeah, that's basically my whole project. Any questions? Yeah.
So what was some of your experience working with the Raspberry Pi? Sounds like, first off, again, it was slow, so you overclocked it, so it overheated, so you cooled it. And it wound up having a non-standard disk format, at least in the project that you had set up. What were some of the other things you had?
Well, just to clarify, the non-standard disk format was the hard drive, not the Raspberry Pi. But the other thing, I mean, so basically in the beginning, I really wish like Kevin was here the first week because I just had to rely on a bunch of random people on forums. So it'd be nice to like have somebody to like bounce ideas off of, and all the forum people were pretty unhelpful to me, trying to figure out how exactly I would do this. So finally I found like a line of code that helped me install OwnCloud, and then basically from there I just needed to find out like what server I would use. So then I decided on Apache from there, and there were a few like minor roadblocks. I'd probably say like the big ones were just the hard drive. That was a big one. Finding out like how to work the whole IP address thing, that was a big one. And then there were some other things that like, I basically hit like every roadblock imaginable. I feel like, there's probably worse things that you can do that didn't happen to me, but I think overall the big ones were the hard drive, and in the beginning I had no idea how to code, so learning some of those lines of code were pretty hard, and I relied on the internet a lot. Yeah.
You didn't tell me this at home. So, when did you figure out you needed a fan?
Well, once I overclocked it, I just figured it was a good idea because I put it at medium and it like burned me. So then once I put it at like extra fast, like as fast as it goes, it like gave me a ton of warnings, like this is gonna like corrupt your SD card and stuff. So at that point I realized it was gonna be pretty hot. So I decided to make the fan. Even with the fan, it's pretty hot, but like I wasn't too worried about me like burning myself as much as I was like the thing overheating. So the fan keeps it at like a runnable temperature, and I think I just decided to do that when I overclocked it, even though it might not be totally necessary. Shane?
So can you talk about like compare what you've got to Dropbox in terms of like space? How does it compare?
Yeah, well, Dropbox costs a ton of money, as Kevin said. Like, they charge ridiculous amounts, especially if you want to do business. Like he said, it's crazy for personal use, and for business use, it's like exponentially crazy. It's like $34,000 for like 250 users and like 5 terabytes of space or something. Of course, that comes with tons of encryption, like all that other stuff. But still, that's a ton of money. So here, like what we're running, OwnCloud, you can create unlimited users and groups and stuff, and set admins for them, and basically you can just hook up whatever hard drive you want, have as much space as you want. And Dropbox, like all those, like Amazon Drive, Google Drive, all those things, it's basically just like a bunch of these in some massive warehouse in like Oklahoma or something. So you're basically doing the same thing as them, except you have a little bit less support and you have to rely on a bunch of people on forums and stuff. But overall, you have a lot more control, and there are clients for OwnCloud for Android and iOS, and then there's also Mac and PC one. I used the Mac one, it worked pretty well. The PC one worked okay for me, that's the usual Mac-PC relationship. But yeah, overall I think the functionality is really good. The only thing is you have to be willing to put up with a little bit of, like frustration a little bit. Dropbox is going to work, but like in the end, Dropbox is just going to work the first time, but in the end you get more control of your storage and it's way cheaper.
So let's assume tomorrow BlueStam gives you $50,000. So can you make something similar to Dropbox?
Assume you give them $50,000.
No.
Spend my money.
Yeah, like some people did that at some college, right? Something like you can make Raspberry Pi super powerful. Make something like Dropbox. I don't know. Dropbox, like half of it's the interface basically, so you'd probably need to like do a bunch of coding for that and stuff, and I don't really know as much about that, and if I got $50,000, I probably wouldn't spend it on making this a profitable business. But I bet you could, but you'd probably need to find some interface where it's easier for users to sign themselves up and stuff like that, because here it's basically like, you can allocate how much storage users can have, what groups are in and stuff, but the admin needs to do it, and of course Dropbox, anyone can go and sign up. So yeah, probably like, as far as functionality wise, yeah, but as far as like the user interface and everything that's made Dropbox like insanely popular, it would take a long time, but yeah, it's definitely possible to do.